On today's episode of WatchJRGo, we are here with my absolute dream truck, thanks to Eddie's Chevrolet Cadillac here in Wichita. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and like I said, we are here with my absolute dream truck, the most perfect truck ever built. This is the 2023 F-250 Platinum Tremor. I said it's the most perfect. It could have two more options. It could be a limited. It could be what my 2022 limited is over there. But this thing is better in every way. Almost. I just wanted to show you guys my 22. I love this truck to death. It's been amazing. I do wish it was this truck though, and I am really thinking about trading it in. Unfortunately, I can't. I know I said I'd keep this one for 5 years. I have to for tax reasons, otherwise it makes things ultra complicated. But oh man, do I want this one. There's no way this one would get traded in. They finally perfected the truck. And before we get in here and talk about that, I do want to take 2 seconds to mention that Eddie's Chevrolet Cadillac here in Wichita has a rack of these things. If you're looking for a truck or a Super Duty, head on over to Eddie's. I'll throw a link in the description to this one, as I always do. Huge shout out to them for letting me borrow this truck because, well, I think they just did it to tempt me. They know what's going on here. So let's take a step back and take a quick look at the Tremor beside the Limited, just to talk about a couple Limited to Tremor differences. If you buy this in just a Platinum, you're not going to end up with those wheels. You end up with a better looking 20-inch wheel and the air dam and all that stuff. But the Tremor, it looks taller. They've done a lot of things to really set them off. You can always tell when somebody has a 23 or a 24 because it now has this giant plastic piece there that finishes out the side of the front fenders. You can also tell this one has more horsepower and torque than mine. This is the only time in life I've ever wanted to rebadge a vehicle. Mine, of course, has the 6-7 liter Power Stroke badge there, and if the Power Stroke numbers are red, it's the high output with more horsepower and torque. That one was like 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, and this one's now like 1,200 or something like that. And it's literally just a tune, and I think they changed the turbo geometry. Super, super small differences, but I mean, it probably makes a big difference at the end of the day. I can tell you after driving this for just a few minutes, we'll get back in and drive it in just a moment, but this drives like a half-ton and it's incredible. And mine really does still feel like a truck. They were working on it. In 22, they almost had the formula down. In 23, they fixed every little complaint and thing I've ever talked about in that truck. So, I know that's a high bar for me to go making statements like that, but we're gonna hop inside. I'm gonna show you guys this thing and we'll see just how wildly good this truck is. If it was a Limited too, a Limited Tremor would be absolutely perfect. First, let's head over to the shop where we can put this thing inside. It's a little bit warmer in there, and do a complete walk around. Also, we can test out the first insanely cool new thing on the 23. They should all do that. Auto deploy running boards when you're approaching the truck. I really wish mine did that. They don't open until you actually open the door, and now, well, it's better. We'll get back to work here in just a moment, but first I need to take a second to tell you about the Fanttik X9 Ultra V12. This is the Fanttik X9 Ultra V12, a portable air compressor, power station, and work light. This thing's perfect for when you're headed out in a field and you've got a bunch of flat tires like we have on this Tiguan that I need to unload. Even this tire here, completely flat. So it's got a work light so I can see out in the middle of the night. It can inflate to preset levels. It has multiple preset levels and you can change them as well if you're always inflating the same tires. And it's a power bank with 2 USB-Cs and a USB-A that can charge your laptop, phones, whatever it is you need. And it's incredibly fast as well. So the X9 Ultra was built for truck tires, big tires like these SUV tires and stuff like that. Look at that, we've got 12 PSI in there. We're gonna start inflating this thing right now and we're gonna time it as well. So we're at 12.5 PSI, almost 100% flat. The X9 Ultra can inflate a tire from 30 to 35 PSI in just 38 seconds, way faster than the little 12-volt inflators you're used to seeing me use out in the field. And when you're doing tractor tires and big tires, well, that volume makes all the difference. And like we just saw, it can also inflate tires from 0 to 35 in around 4 minutes. So it's incredibly fast, so fast it has a cooling fan to cool the air compressor. If you're looking for an ultra powerful portable tire inflator, battery bank, work light, hit the link in the description below to buy your Fanttik X9 Ultra today. They're offering up to $70 off using my link and the promo code in the description. Huge thank you to Fanttik for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get back to work. All right, we're back inside. Let's go. Listen to that. The steps are like, weirdly, they make a cooler sound and run a little bit slower. They're probably more reliable, I would assume. We're gonna start with the smallest thing ever on the exterior of the F-250 today, and that is the door handles, where they made some big changes. And the big change is now it's labeled. And this is really a precursor of what's to come in the truck. This truck makes so much more sense. It's so much more ergonomic if you're not used to having all the tech in the world. Ford came in and just made something that's easier to use. I also don't remember if my keyhole is exposed like that. I think you might have to pull a cap on mine, but now there's a keyhole there because it's a heavy duty truck and you might need to use a key on a heavy duty truck. So touch to lock, unlock inside. Steps come out automatically when you unlock. That is such a small thing, but such a big step towards making technology like this accessible to everyone, whether they understand it or not. So, let's keep going around this thing. 18-inch wheels on the Tremor instead of the big, beautiful 20s, but they are big, beefy 18s. These are Goodyear Wrangler Duratrax 285, 75 18s. I think it might be the tire, but this, like I said, this rides like a half ton instead of a 3/4 ton. The Tremor suspension is definitely reworked to be more of an off-road truck. Tremor is just a package that's supposed to be a step above FX4. So mine's an FX4, really made to off-road, and we don't really do too much off-roading with it because both of these weigh way too much to do any serious off-roading. Like, you'll get stuck and you'll need a semi to pull you out. But this one is a little bit more geared towards off-roading. I see they've added a ton of new sensors. In 23, there are now ride height sensors front and rear on the ladder bars running up to the front axle on this thing. It still has a solid axle, right? Absolutely it does, as you would expect. They didn't switch it up and go to IRS or anything crazy, which you'd almost expect given how well this truck rides. Mirrors, same as the old ones. Power extending, power folding, area lighting in the mirror, turn signal in the mirror, heated mirrors obviously, blind spot monitoring in the mirror, and you gotta love Ford. The top is power and the bottom is this extra convex mirror so you can see right around the truck when you look at the bottom there. Cameras for the 360 are still mounted in the little pods under the mirror. And I think that's everything we need to talk about over here, except for secure code, of course, same as the old ones. Push the bottom 2 buttons to lock and, you know, type the code and push 3 to unlock all doors. So that's pretty cool. Remote, same as the old one. I have the key out of it. But there are cool new things on the remote we're gonna talk about here in just a second. Fuel door, DEF, diesel, as you'd expect. The Tremor, I think it's just a Tremor thing, but it adds this step here at the front of the bed, which I would absolutely love to have. I adore that step because I keep all my straps and chains, throw it in the bed, pushed up there. Not all of them, but all the big straps, the 3-inch straps and chains that I use all the time, they ride up there. The bed is bed lined, which is a factory option. I wish mine would have had that. There was like a shortage thing where your truck would take 3 extra months to come in if you ordered it bed lined, and I had to have a truck in 22 for tax reasons, as you guys well know by now. You got the Tremor logo here instead of the FX4, 18s in the back. Again, it looks good. Like, the Tremor does look good. And one reason I never bought a Tremor is because if you order a Tremor in the default spec, they take away the most important part of the truck, almost, the power running boards. I do not want to be in a truck without the power running boards. And it obviously, like, if you put fixed running boards on, it's worse for off-roading. Now, if you hit a big rock with your power running boards, they're ruined. I get the idea behind taking them away, but there is no world where you want a $100,000 truck that doesn't have power running boards. Here in the back, things just get better and better and better. This is definitely one of my favorite trucks I've ever been in. The tailgate has been massively upgraded. Now, in my 22 in the 3/4 tons back then, you could not have a power up tailgate. You only had power open on the remote. Listen to that! It's now fully motorized. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about back here in the back of this truck. It's got Pro Power, of course, another thing that mine didn't have. So you've got 120 volt power right there. It's not Pro Power Plus, so you don't have 220 to run your welder off the truck like a Lightning could or some of the other half tons. I wish it did. Obviously, it's got the big epic bed lighting. Boom. This lights up so much of the truck, makes loading things very, very easy. You do have the ruler built into the tailgate. So if you throw a 2x4 on here, it makes it easy to mark it. And then as all of you guys know that do construction with your trucks, we always end up using our tailgate to measure things. So you put your boards on here, mark it, slide it off, and then run your circular saw right across it, and then chuck your circular saw back on the tailgate and get back into the house, whatever it is you're working on. I know a lot of us cut our boards the same way. The tailgate's the perfect place, and Ford worked hard to make that better for us. Obviously, you've got the step. The step is such a gimmick. I mean, maybe if you're 70, you use this thing, but we only pull this out to show off how dumb it is, and then we put it back away. But it's cool that it's there, and once in a great while, say you're loading a little motorcycle by yourself, it can save you, but you can also bend it, so be careful. I'm assuming the motor is right here. It looks like there's kind of a little cam that motor interfaces with right there to open and close this tailgate. But that was just the boring stuff, guys. Now you know when you're backing up your truck and say you're doing well, if you're hooking up a fifth wheel, you're using the top camera, but you're backing up your truck and the tailgate's down. What happens? The cameras shut off automatically, or they point down at the gravel or the concrete. So your backup camera becomes worthless because of course your backup camera, just close that real fast, is right there. Backup camera is right there looking down at the ground and has the special hitch view as well. Just loading trailers up with these new trucks is incredible. You never need help. You never need to try again. You point the middle line at the tongue of the trailer and you've got it loaded up in just moments. But what happens when your tailgate's down? Well, you probably shouldn't be hooking up a bumper pull trailer if your tailgate's down. You're probably gonna ruin the tailgate. But on this truck, see, it's got parking sensors too. You gotta have parking sensors so you know how far away you are from a building or a parking block and a parking stall or anything like that. You've got a great suite of sensors on the back of this thing to make backing up and moving this gigantic truck easy. I should also mention these things are huge. It's really hard to see out of them. The cameras are honestly completely needed. Anyone that says they're not is driving a half ton from the 90s where they're car sized and it's easy to drive. These things are gigantic. You can't see out of a lot of it. You have to rely on the cameras. Well, tailgate's down, your camera goes away. Not in the 23, it doesn't. Take a look at that. There's an additional full set of ultrasonic parking sensors in the top of the tailgate and another camera just to make sure you can always have the correct camera view, tailgate up or down. What a massive improvement. Taillights look better, blind spot right there. I don't love that they made that black. It was red before, but you know what, it's just fine. It's still a great look. With all the new sensors on the suspension that are anchored up on the body, I kind of think this has that load sensing system the F-150 has, where as you put more and more tongue weight or load in the bed of this, it fills up the LED bar graph to tell you that you've got too much weight on the back of the truck, which is insane in an F-250, let's be honest. And of course, the one thing I've been complaining about since day one in my 22, so much better. What an awesome truck. I just noticed one more thing here on the back of this truck. Ford, I mean, they're really thinking. When I pull trailers with mine, which is almost nonstop, I mean, my truck's got 20,000 miles, and if we go to the trailer odometer, we know it has over 10,000 miles pulling. So that's more than half the time my truck's pulling a trailer. The safety chains are incredibly hard to hook up on all Fords, If you have any of these, you know there's a ton of extra metal around here that makes it hard to get your safety chains on. Well, they reworked all of this, and it's like 3D formed. Look at this. I mean, it's clearly robotically welded, but it's so much nicer. It's easy to get hooks in and out without fighting. Usually, like if the hook has a lock, you have to twist it and all this stuff, and now they'll all just fall into place. So they were really thinking about trailering with this new build. Ooh, the Tremor does have special rear shocks. Look at that. I assume they're just revalved because they're not electronic from what I can tell. The front grille is completely redesigned. Now everybody says it looks like brackets and punctuation. I actually love the new front grille. I think it's very classy and it just works. There's nothing bad about it. You can't really complain. And when you're in platinum and limited trims, obviously you get all the chrome. It looks a lot better. So this is kind of the perfect setup. LED fog lights, ultrasonic parking sensors down low as you would expect. Obviously, it has adaptive cruise with the radar hiding in the gigantic Ford badge. Your front camera is right there. And this door, of course, comes out and sprays the camera when you run your wipers to make sure the front camera is clean if you're off-roading and splashing dirt, snow, mud on that. That's been there since even my 2018 would clean its front camera. And the Raptor started doing that in like 2010. So that's nothing new. We know that stuff's super reliable. It's not going to break. The same old chrome tow hooks from before. It looks like it added a little scoop here. Mine doesn't have that to kind of direct air up at the radiator, but also the Tremor gets rid of the giant front air dam, so you have a bunch more ground clearance. I think it gives you, I mean, there's almost 6 additional inches right here, so your approach angles are a lot better if you're rock crawling in your F-250. I mean, I've done it, so I understand why people would want this capability. Opening up the redesigned hood, this hood's a lot softer. They kind of softened up the lines on the hood so it looks a little cooler there. We've got giant Ford AGM factory batteries. That is cool. My batteries are not AGM back in 22, so this thing is just, it's just better in every single way. Pre-filter there on the air filter, you can see it. So air filter is gonna be hiding right in there, and there's like a cotton pre-filter for when you're trail running or running Baja in your F-250, things that just don't happen. But another AGM battery over here, of course. The epic high output power stroke. The specs on this engine are 500 horsepower and 1,200 foot-pounds of torque, which means mine should be like 450 and 1,000 or something like that. But crazy numbers. I mean, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque out of the box, guys. Can you imagine? And drivability is so much better. It drives like a V8 half-ton. So it rides better. I can tell you the brakes are better. The pedal mapping is better. Everything about this absolutely rocks. Let's jump inside and start on the crazy part of this tour. Right out of the gate, I do want to mention something. It's missing 2 important options because it's a Platinum, not a Platinum Ultimate. It's a Platinum Tremor. And it's missing the giant panoramic sunroof, and it's missing the massage seats. But the seats are way better. Obviously, the 22 Limiteds like mine, you were forced to have that navy blue and light gray interior. This is beautiful. It looks like a King Ranch in here. I know it's not saddle, but the light leather, pretty King Ranchy. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Starting at the driver's door, like we always do, the driver door looks way better with Alcantara and the brown piping to match the leather on the seats. The doors are basically the same, but now you kind of have 2 cup holders, which is great because I keep water bottles in here. This one's perfectly sized so the water bottle doesn't roll around. I keep emergency water in the doors for anytime you're out in the field and you might need to take a drink, keep gloves and a flashlight, you know. This door is perfect, and there's additional storage right here. The switches are way better in the 22s. These switches sat up here, and it was nonsense. You always have to look for the locks, but now they look right at you, and it's more ergonomic. It's just better in every way. These switches are perfect. 3 memories, lock, unlock, power folding mirrors right there, power sliding mirrors right there for trailering. I love this trim piece. It looks really, really cool. Obviously, all your power mirror controls, auto downs, auto ups for both front windows right there, and all of it. It's just so well done. So the driver door is perfect. I do like the big pretty grills for the B&O speakers. Speaking of the B&O, I think now they've made 2 tiers of it, and there's like B&O Ultimate or B&O Select and then B&O. And this is the new one that finally is way better. It can shake the rear view mirror with the subwoofer in this truck. The 22 cannot do that. It falls on its face after the volume's above like 20. I know that's not a real number that you can relate to or anything like that, but this one gets after it. It has way more output and it can shake the mirror. Like it's a real system now. Heading towards the dash, it's all way better. Look how pretty this dash is. Ford killing it. This is nice and smooth. These are like, well, I know it's molded plastic, but they're really cool surfaces that look like they're machined. A little sneaky American flag Easter egg right there. That is really cool to show that these were built in America. This is all new and all way better. There's your power tailgate. There's your Pro Power onboard. Here's your area lights. Here's all your lighting controls, bed light, cluster illumination level, auto lights. You can just, this turns infinitely now, which is a new thing and very cool. Power pedals. parking brake is electric now, and you know what? It works great. So I do use that a lot when I'm backing up a trailer by myself on a hill. You need the parking brake to make sure it doesn't move. So it's electronic now. I know that's a little bit different for a lot of people, but this thing has a lot more electronics and it is a lot better. Unfortunately, no illuminated door sills, but it's the same one they've been making since 2015 or something, so you can swap it out. They sell these on eBay from Ford, and the power is in there. There is a connector in here so you can hook up the door sills if you want to have nice illuminated ones. Let's talk about these epic seats for just a minute. It has the same old headrests from the old one, but now it's perforated leather. So once you put your head back, it's more comfy and your head doesn't slide. It's better. I promise you guys that. What an improvement. So obviously they tilt, lock, just like you'd expect from most new cars. And then they added this tilt and lock too, so you can get your shoulder support exactly where you want it. It has these big wings. My seats, after you spend 12 hours on a road trip in one day, I mean, I came back and I've had back problems from one 12-hour trip. I've had back problems nonstop, and this would have fixed it because the seats in 22, the bolsters are too big and they kind of crush your shoulders together. I know the seats are made for bigger guys, but if you're just the right size, it can cause serious problems. This seat solves all of that, and it just looks so pretty too. All right, they upgraded the steering wheel as well. One of my biggest complaints in any vehicle is when the volume dial isn't on the door side. So your arm's resting on the door, you want your volume to be right there, and guess what? Ford listened and they moved it from here over to here. Here's all your cruise control, lane centering, follow distance, all that stuff right there, easily accessible by your hand that matters, and all the stuff that doesn't matter, the controls for the gauges, are over here in the doesn't matter zone. So huge upgrade there. Phone, hang up and answer, track forward and back, and of course all the controls for the on-screen menus, which are way better. The shifter is improved 1,000,000 times. I can't tell you guys enough. When you put mine in gear, let's start this thing up. Look at that. Beautiful animations. You can't see it right now, but the heads-up display animations are out of control. 75-year anniversary of the F-Series right there on the screen as it boots up. We'll clear this warning, but I want to show you when I put this in gear, all I have to do is grab the shifter and slam it down into drive. I didn't slam it, clearly. But in my truck, when you do that, it misses drive and always goes to manual. Sorry about the beeping. And I'm in manual, and you're like, why is this truck doing 3,500 RPM? And you realize that it went all the way to manual, and you have to go super, super carefully. You have to bump it back just one notch to drive without finding neutral. This truck, going into manual mode, is a button on the side of the shifter. So all you have to do is get in and hit drive, and it just works. I'm telling you guys, every problem these things have ever had, they've thought about it, they went in, spent time using the truck, and fixed it all. Here's the biggest fix of all time. I've complained to Jim Farley about this, but in the 22, you could not turn the heated steering wheel off without almost 8 button presses on the touchscreen. So the heated steering wheel could only be controlled on my truck in the main display, and you have to close whatever you're doing, open the side panel over here because it has a little slide out box. And then you have to hit like next until it goes to the climate page, and then you can shut off the steering wheel. In the 23, there's a button. How hard was that? How hard was that button? I'm telling you, the engineers got in this truck and just knocked it out of the park. They should honestly refund all of us that have 22s and give us all 23s, just because they fixed all the problems that they were making originally. So a loaded 23 has a heads-up display, which was not an option when I got mine. It's a billion times cooler. Mine only has the red bar up there that alerts you if you're too close and it thinks you're going to get in a collision. It's the pre-collision assist. This one will turn the heads up off, and then we'll turn it on and watch this incredible animation. You're looking at the windshield, guys. Ah, it's so sick! The heads-up display in the 23 it's the greatest one I've ever seen in my life, and I've driven about everything there is with a heads-up display, including all the new German stuff. It's all really, really good. This thing is incredible. It has brackets on each side that tell you when the truck knows where it's at in the lane. It puts the blind spot notifications in the heads up, so you don't ever have to like check the mirrors for the little LEDs, because let's be honest, those little tiny LEDs in the mirrors, you don't ever look. I check my mirror and I'll look at the mirror and check the lane beside me and not even see the blind spot indicator. In the heads up, you know. And also when you turn on your turn signal and someone's in your blind spot, it freaks out, as it should. It does show your navigation in the heads up. Not only that, this thing is so wild. It can take the navigation that's coming out of CarPlay and act like it was native navigation and put the turn-by-turn in the dash and the heads up. But I found out a few new things because I took it out for a drive last night. This thing now has full steering headlights that can also level based on the leveling sensors, and it has a startup animation that's beautiful, so I love that. It's about time. Ford Ram's had this for like 4 years now, so Ford has caught up and done proper headlights that steer way in front of the truck. It's awesome. And it also, I think it has zone dimming so they don't blind other drivers now. I noticed I was slowing down and heading into a turn and another car was oncoming, and the lights where that other car was disappeared. It's so good. Good job, Ford. I can't say enough good things about it. Now, we did mention the cruise control a little bit while we were going through the steering wheel here. This has auto lane centering and cruise control that is some of the best I've ever used, because it just does it. When you hit the cruise button and it instantly just nails the center of the lane, and you can let go of the wheel, but every like 10 seconds or something like that, it'll tell you to put your hands back on the wheel. So you really have to keep a hand resting on it, but it's literally like having full autopilot in a Tesla. It's so good. I'll tell you the ultimate perk of Fords though, you can shut off anything you want about the seat belts. Ford is an American company doing American things. Everyone else, if you get in a Tesla, you can't even have cruise control if your seat belt's off. If you get in my Volt, sure, you can have cruise. Comma reads the seatbelt status, and if the driver's seatbelt's unplugged, you can't go into full self-driving, basically. It absolutely freaks out. Huge red notification across the screen, buckle seatbelt, autopilot unavailable, or whatever it says. Ford is like, yeah, man, do whatever you want. And just like my truck, this truck is used. Somebody already went in and disabled all the seatbelt notifications, and Ford is so great about that. It's easy to do, and it never bothers you again. So I'm not condoning driving without your seatbelt, but I am saying that this is the one vehicle where it's just perfect. You can do whatever you want, and that's how they should be. You should be able to choose what you want to do in life. All right, we talked about the amazing redesigned shifter. It's perfect. Shout out to Ford. Over here on the wiper and turn signal stock, if it'll ever focus there, the screen printing for the auto wipers is 100 times better. This is a lot easier to understand for people that aren't just used to it. You really never need to take the auto wipers off the first notch. But now, you know, it's got a bunch of different stuff there to say how much rain, or if you want it to go into high speed mode. It's perfect. The way they've labeled the wiper stock now makes so much more sense for people that aren't just used to having auto wipers and things. Speaking of somehow perfect, let's talk about the center stack just a little bit. We'll start down here with the easy stuff. The storage compartment here in the center is better. So in mine, you just have to know that if you slide this over, it can have 4 cup holders, and if you slide it over there, you can have storage and 2 cup holders. In the new one, they labeled it for people that don't know that that's there. It's really, really good. The cup holders are better than the 22 somehow. My water bottle doesn't slide that easily into the 22, so they must have changed this like a millimeter, and it's 100 times better. Go Ford again. Now there's some rubber in there. It's really, really nice. It says F-Series. Can't say enough good things about the center console. This is perfection right here. I know it's a little bit hard to see because it's dark, but when I drive mine, I have to keep it in 4 cup holder mode so my phone can sit in one of the cup holders. And it works just fine, but you lose a cup holder, right? Well, they put a phone holder in it that is the exact height so your phone can be plugged in, and it even has vents in here so your phone doesn't like overheat while it's charging, which it does vent this as well, because when you're wireless charging, you usually end up with heat problems with your phone. It's just perfect. Ford has knocked it out of the park, and also you can put your phone like that if you actually need to see it. How great is that? Your wireless charger down there, like always. It's really the receipt box for me. I can't use that at all because it's always completely full. You've got USB-A, USB-C, more storage, and of course that beautiful little cover. that slides shut if you're not using that space. All of this is basically the same as the 22, except for the addition of the heated steering wheel control, which changes everything, honestly. Instead of the 400 watt inverter, since this one has Pro Power, you have 20 amps of AC power right there in the cockpit. So you can run a circular saw, or probably even a table saw, on the interior inverter outlet there. 12 volt accessory right there, and the drive modes, which are insane, we'll get into that in a minute, are right here with the 4-wheel drive controls. This is all much better, much nicer. Pro trailer way up high. One of the reasons I bought my 22 was for Pro trailer, but after using it, it's actually like a lot harder. If you know how to back up a trailer, I'd say Pro trailer makes everything more difficult. So I went through the insanely complicated setup for Pro trailer. With the Featherlight I always pull, it's kind of a mess. I don't know what you're supposed to use it for. It's cool, but I don't see myself ever using it again. The screen steps out. On mine, it's set back 1 inch, so you have like a thing to hold on to. It's actually, I don't like that at all. It doesn't help you hang on to the screen or anything like that. This one is closer to the driver, which is better. So we've got the big forward animation again, the heads up, everything in here plays an animation on startup, and it's all beautiful. So well done, Ford. This screen gives you all the information you could ever need on the truck. You really never need to take your eyes off either the heads up right there or the cluster right here.
With
it tells
all the
you
seats down.
Everything. We got some Marcus Brownlee playing right over there. The new digital tach and speedometer, awesome. Can't say enough good things about that. We've got temp, we've got oil pressure, trans temp, and obviously you can replace some of these gauges with other ones in the menus. And your fuel right there, you have calm mode, which is really cool. So right now it's in driver assistance mode. It shows what's playing down there from the media, which is really cool. Your lane centering's down there. But let's switch to put it in my view and put it in calm view, which is really cool. Watch this. If you don't want any information out of the cluster, you can have that. When it's in calm mode, you just have range and speedometer. Honestly, most of the time, that's all you need these days. So that's pretty cool. You got trips, your instant fuel economy, tire pressures, whatever you want right there. And we'll go back. Obviously, more fuel data right there, heads-up display controls. Like I said, you can customize whatever you want to be in there. Look at that, driver assistance, pitch and roll when it's an off-road. How sick is that? Everything you want to know about your diesel is right there. So you've got boost, exhaust brake, exhaust filter, and def level. Super nice. So anything you're looking for, this truck will actually tell you. It's not all hidden away. So let's put this thing in off-road mode. We'll turn the drive modes here. There's a bunch of them. We've got normal, we've got slippery roads, we have, oh, it's putting it in 4-wheel drive right now. We have off-road and rock crawling. I love that it changes the color of the truck and it wants to put it in 4 low. It tells you what you need. Tow haul shows the trailer, and of course eco if you want to pretty much remap the gas pedal. The new cluster design is like having a completely different vehicle. It's probably a million times better than the old one. We could spend a lot of time just talking about this cluster because it does go on and on and on. You can customize it however you want. It rocks. But they moved some of the things that you need very often, like the running board controls that used to be in the cluster, over to the center screen. How great is that? I've got big CarPlay up right now. Obviously, you can have windowed CarPlay if you need other controls over there. Switch through map and CarPlay and the bed camera. Obviously, the old one does that too. Zone lighting controls. Ah, I see. So now we can turn on zone lighting. Wow. All right, so you have to turn off the work light switches. Okay, done. All zones on. That is so sick. It turned on the mirrors, it turned on the headlights, it turned on the fog lights. One button to light up your entire job site. Obviously, yep, every bed light's on, which honestly adds a lot of light. It turns on every single white light, including the reverse lights, tailgate light, tag light, everything white turned on to light up the room around you. Well, the outdoors around you. That is insane, Ford. I wish mine did that. So we'll turn that back off and take a look at a few other cool things. Running board controls used to be in the cluster. Now they're over here. They're a million times better. I can't tell you how often, if you push the wrong set of buttons on the remote, it disables the running boards, which is like a safety thing. If it's parked on a rock, you don't want the running boards to deploy or something like that. Nobody seems to know what the button combo is, but if you push it, you can't use your running boards anymore. So it's really cool that that is there. All the old settings that have been there forever. Unfortunately, this does have ambient lighting, but you can't change the colors. And then over here in the features, you can see the really, really cool stuff. Onboard scales that show the weight in the bed or on the hitch and the taillights. So you can turn on the taillight mode there and see that I weigh about 150 pounds and the truck's measuring that right now. Love that. Wow. So many cool things in here. All right, not for commercial use. It says that this is not a certified scale. Smart hitch should tell you the load on the tongue. Towing options right here. Oh, this is so nice. In mine, you have to configure your trailers in here, and it can take 20 minutes to set up a single trailer if you're naming them and all that stuff. And of course, let's see if there's some in here. Nope, just default trailer. Pro power controls, driver assistance controls, it's all over here, and it's so much easier to use when it's on the big touch screen. Above the screen, we have the exhaust brake, the new 360 cameras, which are so much better. Look at this. You couldn't do any of that before. It's like 100 times better than the 22. The software is just out of control. Not only that, as you're pulling up to something, the parking sensors automatically activate, and the cameras in the direction you're going automatically take over the screen, show the parking sensors on the screen. It's so much better than the 22. Basically, every time I park mine at my house, there's a pallet of stuff in front of the truck, and I have to turn on the camera to make sure I'm right where I want to be. This thing does it for me. The cameras are far better. I can't say enough good things about it. Hazards, traction control, and what's now called crawl assist or something like that. So you have your like 3 mile an hour cruise control to help this thing climb down grades. Over here you've got a glove box. Looks really nice with this wood. And another glove box, the gigantic Ford one. Oh, it got a little smaller. Wow. I was not expecting to see a smaller glove box on the passenger side. That's a pretty big change. I do like the center console more than mine because the limited badge is annoying. The platinum badge is perfect. There's Alcantara between the leather. I haven't even opened this yet, but I assume it's huge. And it is. They lighted the center console, but it's so black you can't even see what's going on in there. It looks like it has 2 USB-Cs, and they no longer have the big sliding divider that we had before. I like the big sliding thing. I use that for little stuff. I don't want to get lost in the console. These rear cup holders are basically the same. They do what they're supposed to do. It does have the power sliding rear glass. The aux switches have changed in the 23. These are totally different and not quite as easy to go like this as they were in the old one. I don't have anything hooked up to mine. Very few people do end up using those because it has a great lighting package. What are you supposed to add more lights for? Sunglasses holder, and of course all the controls for the reading lights. Really all the cabin light controls are right there. It does have home link, of course. I know it's black, it's really hard to see this stuff, but lighted mirror, LED, that looks beautiful. Good job, Ford. I assume this slides because why wouldn't it? There we go, sliding, tilting sun visors. If you didn't notice, this has height speakers and tweeters in the A-pillars pointing at you. The height speakers make such a huge difference. Ram was doing too well, that's the problem. The Rams with the hardened cardan were so good that B&O and Ford stepped up and added height speakers. Do they have them in the back? They don't. The Rams do have height speakers in the rear, which are really nice. You can always hear them. It's crazy hearing voices, just the voices coming from directly overhead, but the music surrounding you. Here in the back, they've decided that Ram is still allowed to be better than Ford. It only has heated rear seats. They are not cooled like the Rams, TRXs, stuff like that. 2 USB-C right there, 12 volt down there, and another 20 amp outlet right there. A full circuit. It's crazy what Pro Power does for the 120 volt side. Back seats, of course, we've got the cup holders. The back seat hasn't changed one bit. They just reskinned it with some very pretty leather. Oh, look at that. The rear door panels have an upper cup holder now. That is sick. So 4 cup holders for the back plus the doors. That's a big upgrade because the rear passengers did not have that much luxury before. Of course, the seat flips up, and this does have the plastic storage that it unfolds itself up and then folds back down flat, depending on what you need in the back seat. So I use that all the time. It lets you kind of hide all the stuff you have to keep in your truck. All right, that's the back seat. It's great. Ford knocked it out of the park. So that is basically a complete tour of the 23 F-250 Platinum Tremor and a comparison of everything that changed from 22 to 23, and it's a lot. Now let's get this thing out on the road and enjoy driving it around for a little bit, because honestly the driving experience has improved by another order of magnitude. It's so much better you wouldn't believe it. And I really think all that comes down to having that big old sidewall on the tires. Maybe the Tremor suspension's a little bit softer, but one way or another, this thing rides great. Here's those magical headlights. What's going on inside you? I want to know, is the light source moving, or is it a LED matrix that's turning on and off sections? I used to say the Ram was technically the best truck there is, but the Ford was the best balance of truck, because obviously it has one of the greatest engines right now, a transmission that's amazing, it does whatever you need it to do, but the technology was a little short of the Rams, but they've literally put all the technology in this thing. So now, I don't think there's a choice. I think you just have to buy this. The High Country doesn't hold a candle to what you can get in this truck. So Ford is out here knocking it out of the park. And honestly, the Ram, I think it might cost a little bit more for a little bit less of an experience. Also, another cool Ford Easter egg I just noticed here on the bed rail. It has a little F-series that says 2.5 cubic yards, so you know the bed capacity. I wouldn't want to fill this bed up with dirt or gravel or anything like that, because you might end up hurting your Pro Power, but there's people out there doing it. I can guarantee you that. I should mention the startup and shutdown sequence. The video doesn't really matter, even though it's really cool. This matters. This was a nondescript thing that you didn't really understand in the old trucks, unless you already knew that cars have options to turn off interior motion sensors. The engineers really did put thought into this truck, and everything finally makes sense to people that don't just understand the technology. I grew up with it. I live for the technology. I want nothing else. So if there's, you know, something in the truck, I just naturally understand it. But I understand, like, a lot of the buyers of these trucks are probably 50, 60 years old. They wouldn't have understood a switch to turn off the interior motion sensors. And this is just so much better, so well thought out. We've talked quite a bit about what it's like to drive my 23. Obviously, it drives like a 3/4 ton. You can definitely tell the difference between it and a 1/2 ton, but this really splits the difference. It's not perfect, it's not really a car, right? Once you go down to 1/2 tons, everything becomes so much easier because they're basically just big cars with a bed. But these are definitely real trucks. They weigh so much more, but this thing with its big, those big sidewalls on those 18-inch wheels, it makes a huge difference and really does make it feel like a car. So there we go. It's driving down the road. Look at this. So it's gonna bother me here until we put my hands on the wheel in just a second. And if you can see the heads-up display, you can see the lane markers there. You can see that it said, keep your hands on the wheel. It is incredible. You don't ever have to take your eyes off the road in this truck. It's perfect. You can hear just how nice it rolls over these giant joints in the road. You barely even notice them. They're like a little massage instead of a bucking Bronco like the 22 was. And another important thing, this does have the acoustic laminated glass like the Limited and Platinum F-250s do, keeping it super quiet in the cabin. These windows are very thick. I just found out another crazy thing. If you guys remember my very first F-250 Platinum Ultimate, it had adaptive cruise and it had no problem coming to a stop in traffic, the way everything should with adaptive cruise. It should just slowly slow down when there's traffic in front of you and then stop if the traffic stops. Well, my 22 has adaptive cruise, but when it's below like 8 miles an hour, just throws its hands up and lets go of everything and will crash. It'll just say screw it and slam into everyone in the row. For some reason, it can't navigate traffic, which has been extremely upsetting and leads to me just not using it at times where it's really, really helpful, like traffic. This one does it perfectly. I can set the cruise right now. All right, so we're on, a 60 mile an hour road coming up to a stoplight. You can see all the data in the heads-up display. You can see it slowing down, and it'll come completely to a stop, and then in the heads-up display, it'll say stopped, press resume to take off. How much better is this? This is the best one, by far, ever. Another cool Easter egg is when it's driving itself, you can see this nice modern truck. It's a picture of this truck with like a 50s Ford truck in front of it, which is really crazy. And turn on the turn signal, you can see that it let go of the guidance. Let's see what it does here. Probably slam on the brakes. There we go. It figured out everything. So if I had to compare this truck to something, it's like finally having an S-Class Mercedes with unobtrusive technology that's just there and works, but you can still pull 30,000 pounds. So pretty amazing. Ford managed to pack everything into this package. So unfortunately for me, this truck is headed back to Eddie Chevrolet Cadillac here in Wichita. If you want it, it'll probably be for sale there. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts. Not like this, although it's a really cool shirt. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. Finally, a truck that can drive itself. This makes me so happy. I mean, the Ram, you could do this with comma like my Volt, but in this, you can literally just hit cruise and let it take you down the road. It's perfect. Another important part of it driving more like a car or any other vehicle you're used to is the high output power stroke has so much power, and the pedal mapping and everything is so good that it drives completely effortlessly like it is a car. And I absolutely love it. You get tired of manhandling the F-250 around when you're on those I've been driving for all day, pulling a trailer journeys. You really do get tired of it. And this thing, it takes out most of the work by steering for you, keeping it going down the highway, basic turns. I think it can do that pretty well. I will say there was just a jog in the road, and it's the first time I've driven it through a jog, and the lane centering was like, no, I don't think so. So you still have to watch this thing pretty closely, but for the most part, it's really good. Also, let's get on it. I haven't actually floored this thing yet. So we're starting with a 20 roll here. 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, and a limiter. I know the 0 to 60 in my truck is like 6.7 seconds or something like that. Like, it is stupid fast. It's right around the 7 mark. This has to be faster, and it also felt like it was about 3 seconds faster to the limiter. When you're passing with these things, you use that all the time. And it is unfortunate that it has so much power, but they're all limited to under 100 when they could clearly go. With the power they have and the 10-speed, I'm sure this thing could go like 150 mile an hour. So it'd be really cool to tune them all and delete the limiter because they have the power in them. I know all the fire departments do that. The government does that. You know, they say we can't have those things, but it's the very first thing they do is drop all the def, pull the speed limiters, and they get an amazing truck. And here we are, you know, the people that pay for it all, and we're not allowed to have the cool stuff. But anyway, that 100 mile an hour limiter shows up really fast on both trucks. Mine's like 96. This one seems like it limited at 98, which is definitely better. And like I said, a lot of times when you're driving in an 85 zone and you're passing, you need a little more than 100 in your truck. So it's unfortunate that it shuts it down there. That was, of course, shot on a closed course as well. And now we're gonna go say goodbye to this truck, unfortunately. Well, I hate to give the 23 back and get back in the CLS 55 Mercedes, but if you need a 3/4 ton, they have them here at Eddie's. They've got racks of HO, non-HO, FX4, that's a 22 like mine, non-HO, and a bunch of Chevy 3/4 tons as well. So whatever you're looking for, they probably have it up here.